Welcome everyone back to Travel Dash. Today I'm going to show you how to spend 24 hours in the Syracuse region of New York. It's so unbelievably underrated for natural scenery after doing some research, and I hope you guys enjoy the video. Of all the US states I've explored out east, New York is the one that's repeatedly exceeded expectations and pulled me back in for more. Last year, it was the Finger Lakes region that really put New York over the top with all of its waterfalls and canyons. And this spring, I got to check out the Catskill Mountains and all of its waterfalls, and additionally, I happen to know a thing or two about the Adirondack mountain range, which I hope to extensively cover in the not so distant future. But I'd come to discover a secret fourth part of the state that was right up there with the rest, and that's the surroundings of Syracuse, New York, its fifth largest city. I never knew a whole lot about Syracuse aside from people saying it was cold and boring, so I hope this 24-hour guide can help you plan an epic day out just like the one I had. We begin at Chimney Bluff State Park, home of the most dramatic landscape on the Lake Ontario shore. Located an hour northwest of Syracuse, and the only spot in this video actually closer to Rochester in comparison, the park spans 597 acres and protects large clay formations situated at the water's edge. There's two parking lots here, but I'd recommend using the eastern one as it's positioned right on the doorstep of the Chimney Bluffs. Once you've made it, there's two ways to go, either down to the beach or up to the trail. We start with the latter, which they say is 2.5 miles long, but the actual bluffs themselves span maybe a quarter of it, so we just went a half a mile out and a half a mile back. This stretch provides the best views possible of the formations, and I was impressed by what I saw. Not only is this unique to the region, but it's unique for the country too. Sure, there's more impressive coastal scenery out there, but seeing these jagged peaks right along the water is such a treat. And shout out to Lake Ontario too. Maybe it was just the lighting, but it was absolutely popping off for us. Overall, the scene was gorgeous, and the trail keeps you engaged with all sorts of perspectives and angles. I especially loved whenever you get to look back in the direction you came and see everything out in front of you, because the smooth layering makes the bluffs look a lot like Badlands. Parking at the east lot, we went about a half a mile to see all the bluffs, and now we're turning back around, but this is definitely a really cool spot that is certainly worth your time. I haven't seen anything like this in New York. Very fascinating coastal views. If the quick and easy trail wasn't enough, make your way down to the water and walk alongside the bluffs while here. The beach was pretty interesting with those black and gray rocks, and while the formations weren't nearly as impressive from their base, it's still neat getting that different vantage, especially those super spiky ones that look like a wizard's hat. Just so cool. Anyways, as you can see, the sun was getting ready to set, which might confuse some of you since the video just started, but earlier that day we visited a whole bunch of amusement parks in the area that I documented for my other YouTube channel, Coaster Dash. If that's more your style, well then stay tuned. There's more where that came from. Or, you know, you can just head over to that channel. In any case, want to see an even more impressive state park? We made it to our next spot. This is Green Lake State Park. Pretty famous spot because the lakes are absolutely gorgeous. The color of them here, you get like that emerald green, and it's very active here in the summertime. You got lots of people swimming, kayaking, all sorts of fun stuff. Maybe the most incredible thing about Green Lake State Park, to me at least, is its close proximity to Syracuse. It's just 15 minutes east from downtown, which nearly makes this an urban park. Yet somehow it feels worlds apart as it's incredibly pristine protected land. For this spot, there's a few different options depending on what parts of the park you'd like to see, but we decided to tackle the 3-mile Green Lake to Round Lake trail. This is where you circle the perimeter of both of the park's lakes. Now, if these were any old lakes, I wouldn't care to devote this much time and effort to them, but no, what makes Green Lake State Park so special is it's got perhaps the most studied merimitic lake in the world. Merimitic meaning that it's a lake whose water layers do not mix, hence allowing that bluish green water that it gets from mineral solids to pop much more. Also protected in these 2,200 acres are the largest stretch of old-growth forest in central New York, and for good measure, Round Lake, the smaller of the two in the park, is designated as a National Natural Landmark. Back to the hike, you'll want to make your way to the parking lot at Green Lake Beach, and this is something you've got to check out regardless of what you plan to do here. It was cool seeing so many people out enjoying themselves, going swimming or kayaking, as I said in that vlog clip. The trail is flat almost the entire time and is mostly covered by trees, though occasionally they open up to of course provide some views of the lakes. I found that these opportunities came more frequently the further we went, and also that the color was most dramatic from even the teeniest bit of elevation gain. I know I said this was flat, and while that is true, there's a slight uphill every now and then, which is what I'm referencing. Additionally, the colors seem to be amplified by these underwater rock surfaces, and sometimes even shade from trees. That second thing, I'm unsure about there being any correlation, but what I do know is that reflection of the leaves coming off the water was mesmerizing. After traversing the first side of Green Lake, you'll have the option to cut your hike short, and I'd say if you're short on time, that'd be the best bang for your buck. Like said, we continued on to Round Lake and also circled its perimeter, but to me, it's smaller and less colorful by comparison. Still absolutely beautiful, don't get me wrong, but I think I would have been much more satisfied if the trail started here and then continued onto Green Lake so it didn't overshadow anything. I nonetheless enjoyed the next portion of the walk before completing loop number 1 around Round Lake. By the way, I should have mentioned that there is a short section between the two lakes where you're going through woods, but don't worry, you aren't lost, just keep following the signs. It's a really well marked hike. Next we saw Green Lake. The sun was doing its best to fight off the gloomy skies, which was a surprise to us considering the weather forecast. Naturally colorful lakes like these are often extra spectacular with sunshine, so that's what we were hoping for and ended up happening a couple of times. Indeed, I noticed a difference whenever this happened, and at times my jaw was nearly on the floor. The shade of turquoise is already quite rare in like alpine lakes here in America, but on the East Coast that's even more fascinating. We continued soaking in the little sun that was left before making our way to the next destination, but man, Green Lakes is a phenomenal state park and a must visit in New York. We just did a whole 3-mile loop, and this place is so freaking cool. It's honestly even better than I thought because I didn't know if the color of the lakes would have been saturated on images online and things of that sort, but it really is that beautiful in person. I love this spot. As if the fascinating bluffs and lakes weren't enough, New York always has to find a way to throw in some awesome waterfalls. There's 3 we visited that I thought looked amazing, but if you have more time on your hands, I'm sure there's even more that would be well worth your time. A 20-minute drive south took us to Prattz Falls Park, a small county park with a trail to the base of an amazing waterfall. But first we walked over to the top of the falls, which you actually drive by to access the parking lot. It's a super quick excursion, but sadly isn't anything too exciting. There's not much to see from the top, and even from a seemingly well-placed observation deck, Prattz Falls was completely blocked by trees. That said, you could clearly make out that it was quite impressive in size, so I eagerly made my way down to the bottom on a short half-mile trail. Though predominantly consisting of stairs, this was easy going in both directions, I thought, with the uphill of course being a little bit more challenging, naturally. But I don't think anyone would object that it's well worth it for Prattz Falls, maybe one of the most underrated waterfalls I've seen in New York. The 137-foot tall gem is technically more of a cascade, but it's very steep and emphatic. There is only one official viewpoint though, and the trees do partially block the falls, but if you maneuver your way past this point down the hill, it is possible to gain further perspectives, and that's what I'd recommend to those capable. It's easier to appreciate the grandeur of Prattz Falls this way, and especially its lower half where the water splits apart and starts heading in differing directions. Man, I had no idea Prattz Falls was going to be this big and impressive. I love this thing. What a great start to the waterfall chasing we're about to do near Syracuse. So sick. Next, we head an additional 10 minutes south to Delphi Falls County Park, a much more established and popular spot, also with a bit more to do. Your 2 options here are 1 to head out on a super short trail to the base of the lower falls, or take a newly built much longer and steeper trail to above the lower falls and continuing to the upper falls. First, I want to talk about the former, and this is a nice, simple walk across a bridge and through some trees. Lower Delphi Falls may only stand 62 feet tall, but I was actually very impressed by its shape and location. I found its width super cool as it's possibly more prominent than its height, and then it flows into a breathtaking gorge. I wouldn't say it's quite as good as Prattz Falls, but I do appreciate how easy it is to walk around and admire this one. Plus, this is only one half of the things to do here. The upper trail is what really puts it over Prattz Falls Park for me, even if it was flawed in some ways. While I enjoyed the trail design with all of its steps and bridges, I found myself a little bit frustrated by how the trees block some of both tiers of the falls from every single observation platform. It's much less of an issue looking down at the lower falls, but it still would have been cool to get the whole thing in frame. Upper Delphi Falls, while not quite as big at just 54 feet tall, has an incredibly satisfying shape that I found challenging to fully enjoy since it could only be viewed from a far distance and, like I said, blocked somewhat by trees. The saving grace is that the trail ends right on top of the waterfall, and that was pretty incredible. I still like the trail for how scenic it is, and the heights are great, but it could have been even better with some adjustments to where the viewpoints are positioned. These stairs have been kicking my butt, but it was worth it for the upper falls of Delphi Falls, and the lower falls was also fantastic too. I would say if you're short on time, just do the lower falls. It was certainly worth it in and of itself. Upper falls, you can't really get an amazing view from afar or from on top of it, but still the hike itself was nice. I did enjoy it. Y'all know me, I had to save the best for last. Let's head 15 minutes back north for Chinango Falls. Last of the 3 waterfalls today, we're at Chittenango Falls State Park. I hope I'm pronouncing that right. This is the most well-known waterfall outside of Syracuse. Should be pretty cool. Chittenango Falls State Park's claim to fame is the most mind-blowing waterfall in central New York, if not the entire state. Yes, I would go that far. If you've been keeping track, it's also the only waterfall near Syracuse protected under state park designation, and I think that's also a testament to its impressiveness. From the parking lot, there's a half-mile loop you can take around the top of the falls, down to the lower view, and back. It's got 147 feet of elevation gain on the way back up, but it's not too bad, and frankly, that base view just isn't skippable. In the beginning, you could clearly tell there was a ton of water flowing off this thing, and the layering was pretty cool, but beyond that, I don't think I was prepared for what's to come. You'll make your way through the woods by utilizing the gorge trail, and then in no time, you'll be hit with the big reveal. Oh my god, I cannot believe how big this is. The shape is so cool. Flow rate is over the top. This is incredible. It's one of the best waterfalls in New York State for sure. Chittenango Falls is very tall at nearly 170 feet, but that's not what had me sold on this being one of my favorite waterfalls in the East. It was the ridiculous width and sheer power over the entire thing that had me at a loss for words. Not to mention, Chinango Falls has some more of those crazy layers as it makes its way down to the creek. Similar to Prattz Falls, there's not a whole lot of differing viewpoints here either, but there was at least this final look out on the right side that I did like. I don't think I can confidently say this is my favorite fall in the state due to the lack of perspectives, but looking at the waterfall on its own, it may very well be the best. To wrap up our incredible stay in central New York, we spent an evening on Oneida Lake, which many consider the thumb of the Finger Lakes due to its close proximity. We stopped off here specifically
because of a small amusement park in the tourist town of Sylvan Beach that I have a full separate vlog for over on Coaster Dash. But the place was a blast between its classic rides and attractions plus its stunning location. Once we were done checking out Sylvan Beach Amusement Park, we took a walk along the beach itself and the adjacent trail, which I figured was a perfect place to end the video.
From Sylvan Beach, New York, that is how you spend an awesome day in Syracuse. That was a lot of fun. This region is loaded with so many cool natural advantages, especially the waterfalls. Those were sick. Also loved all the lakes. So many freaking lakes in this area. It's amazing. You don't just have the Finger Lakes, you have the Green Lakes, and Chimney Bluffs, which we did yesterday evening, was terrific. So thank you all so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one. Peace out.